the Great Depression in the United States of America, when people were jumping out of buildings, when folks were, at its brink, people bread lines and people were starving, and it was horrific to be an American during the Great Depression. Out of the Great Depression came the Harlem Renaissance. Just need y'all to be mindful that, yeah, these times may be tough and maybe the worst people have ever seen, but out of this, we're going to be okay, because we've always been okay. Out of the Great Depression, during the Great Depression, came the Harlem Renaissance. So I need us to be mindful. And speaking of mindfulness, did y'all see this Campbell Soup story? I alluded to it a little bit yesterday, but I didn't really have time to jump in this Talk That Talk Tuesday. So I want to know how many of you, like I was raised, or how many of you were raised on Campbell Soup? How many of you used the mushroom soup in your recipes? How many of you had the chicken noodle soup when you had to stay home and you had to saltine, those crackers in the and the Campbell chicken noodle soup, or the tomato soup with the grilled cheese sandwich? How many of you were raised on Campbell Soup? Well, yeah, we all were, and we weren't poor. But, it was easy. The recipe called for some mushroom. You put that little mushroom soup in there with the onions, and you make you meatloaf or whatever. It was a good filler, and sometimes more than a filler, okay? But this ain't your mama or your Campbell Soup. This company is on some different stuff. And there was a lawsuit filed by Robert Garza, who was hired by Campbell's as a cybersecurity analyst back in September of 2024. Well, he alleges that Campbell's executive, Martin Bally, made offensive remarks during a meeting in November of 2024, which was intended to discuss, he was there to discuss his salary. And according to the lawsuit, Bally made several comments. Matter of fact, we have a news clip that kind of gives us some insight into this. Play the news clips, Ms.
A former Campbell Soup Company employee is taking legal action against the food giant, and he's making some explosive allegations about one of its top executives. Good evening, and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Those allegations are now at the center of a lawsuit claiming the company's vice president went on an hour-long tirade attacking the company's products and employees before taking aim at its customers.
And the former employee recorded it all. Eric Erickson shares that recording and what the company is saying about it.
We have shit for poor people. Who buys our shit?
And that's just part of an over an hour-long rant, says former security analyst for Campbell's, Robert Garza of Monroe.
I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's so healthy. Now that I know what the in it, even in a can of soup, I look at it, look at me, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
The recording allegedly of Campbell's VP and Chief Information Security Officer Martin Bally.
He has no filter.
Bally, along with another supervisor and Campbell Soup Company, named in a lawsuit filed Thursday. The suit claiming Bally made racist remarks, admits to coming to work high, and Garza fired for coming forward.
What do you think about the things that he was saying?
Oh, just pure disgust.
Garza says he usually worked remotely for Campbell's headquarters based in Camden, New Jersey. But thinking he'd be discussing his salary with Bally, he says the recording taken in person at a restaurant.
They couldn't think for the I'm like, you dumb
Garza says he felt sick after the rant, deciding to go to his direct supervisor in January, keeping the recordings to himself.
He had never had any disciplinary action. They had never written him up for poor work performance.
Garza says no one at Campbell's ever followed up, and it's taken him 10 months to find a new job, calling the way the canned soup company handled it simply terrible.
They have a motto, like we treat you like family, here at Campbell's, come work for us, we treat our employees like family. That's not the case.
We did just receive a statement from Campbell's that says, quote, if accurate, the comments in the recording are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. We are actively investigating this matter.
Oh, I cannot wait. This is our time. Out of the Great Depression came the Harlem Renaissance, and a whole lot of businesses were emerging during that time because people who are creative, who have source code, are able to create in a time. And I think about Joseph Campbell, who was a fruit merchant from Bridgeton, New Jersey. He and Abraham Anderson, who was an icebox manufacturer from South Jersey, they produce canned vegetables, tomatoes, jellies, soups, condiments. This is not that. I was asking a business guy today, why don't we have more industry, in terms of like creation of like, what do we need? And then how do we create it so that it serves everybody? This has turned into a monster, and that they're doing bioengineered. And by the way, if you look at the labels, there's a whole lot of bioengineered foods on your shelves. We don't read enough labels. So I'm going to ask this question because this guy was railing against poor people. So apparently it's okay to feed poor people poor food. It's apparently okay because they're poor. So it doesn't matter that they're being poisoned. It doesn't matter that the food that you're giving them literally might be killing them. It's okay because, they're poor. But I know a whole lot of people who make six figures who are making poor choices, who have these very cans in their cabinets, who don't read labels, who go to McDonald's because it's convenient for their children, because they're not poor, but then they make poor choices. So I think this is a time for us to be thank you. Let me say thank you to this whistleblower. Thank you to Mr. Bally for having no filter and being arrogant enough to think you can say whatever you want to somebody and that is never going to come back to you because you're in power. Thank you for showing yourself. Thank you for all of the people who've taken their hoods off and they're out there just in full plain sight. We know now because we know which companies bent the knee to this fascist racist. We know which companies have made a fealty to this current brand of tyranny and fascism. We know which companies don't care about our dollars because they've made a pledge to erase all vestiges of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we know. And those of us who are part of a group of people that spend $1 trillion, we're not poor. Your bank account may say that, but your choices are what really determine whether you're poor or not. And can we make different choices? So to me, this isn't even about Campbell Soup. This is about this country, and this is about you and me making better choices, because you're not rich because of your salary. You're rich because you make wealthy choices, and it's not about money, because health is wealth. Health is wealth. And if we make better choices, and many of us are doing that, that's how, how many rich people are on dialysis right now because of poor choices. You know how many rich people, as I mentioned, go to Wendy's, and man, I'm not singling out Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King, but how many of y'all do that? Do you know that that's not? So here's the question. If you eat a McDonald's burger, McDonald's, and I actually looked this up, McDonald's sells 6.4 million hamburgers a day, every day. 6.4 million hamburgers every single day. Where's McDonald's farms of cows? Where are the cows where that amount of beef is being produced every day? And it's not just McDonald's. How many millions of burgers are sold at Wendy's? How many millions of burgers are sold at Burger King and In-N-Out Burger and Whataburger and Smash Burger? Where's the beef? Where? The lady said, where's the beef? In a lab. What are you eating? Like, does that even cross your mind? Like, is this meat? What am I actually eating, and why am I making these poor choices? Convenience, y'all, cannot be our undoing. We can do better. And so I'm grateful. I, for one, am grateful. I don't have, let me just full disclose, I don't have a single can of Campbell Soup anywhere in my house. Even when I was prepping for the end of the world, that wasn't the first thing because I read labels now. Too much sodium. Even when I was going to Whole Foods, their soups have too much sodium for me. Because if there is a crisis, I don't want to also have high blood pressure, because right now I'm not on any medicine. Thank God. I don't want to be in an apocalypse needing high blood pressure medicine because I made poor choices. We got to make better choices and train our taste buds to not crave the sugar and the salt, because we can do that. We're in control of that. This world may be, completely out of control, but you can control this thing, this body that you're in. You can control that. And again, I've said, what all of these things taste like. We don't have to keep making these bad choices, because they told us that they don't mind poisoning us. They've told us that. This is much bigger than Campbell Soup. So we're going to talk about that today. I also want to talk about politics, a little bit of politics. Michelle Wu, the governor of Boston, Massachusetts, she has said that, unlike Zohran Mamdani, who last week met with the president of the United States, she was like, yeah, it's a no for me. She said, I watched that. Yeah, okay. They were cute. That bromance looked cute. She said, but I would not. She said, would I accept an invitation if it came with a promise to stop snatching residents illegally off the streets, stop prosecuting his political enemies, stop cutting life-saving research and funding? Yeah, then sure, I would accept an invitation. And I'd be open to a conversation. But if that's not happening, it's a no for me. And I was very public with saying that I'm good with Mamdani meeting the president, because as mayor-elect of one of the largest cities, if not the largest city in the world, in this country at least, with $7.8 billion coming his way, that this president has to release $7.5 billion coming his way, he's going to need that money for all of the things he's promised. Michelle Wu's in a completely different situation. And again, we have to be politically mature enough, strategically understanding civics, to know that she can say, no, I'm not meeting with Trump, and be perfectly within her rights and being very powerful. And she could talk that talk. Why? Because she's in her third year of her first term. All right. She received from the Biden administration from 2024, $563.5 million came to Boston. Again, nowhere near the $7.5 billion that is earmarked for New York City. So right there, but she's had enough in to be able to manage this year and next year and wait this damn thing out to the midterms. So she's in a different position, but also she's in a state, the number one state, by the way, that sends more money per capita to the federal government than any other state in the union. She's got a little bit more power than Mamdani does, because that state, Massachusetts, is the leader of only 13 states. And by the way, New Jersey's one of them, is number 2, which is why Mikey Sherrill could say, hey, we might stop paying federal taxes. Yeah, I did the math. And you want to play in our faces and come into our state with the National Guard? All right, checkmate, bitch. What? Sorry, I used that word. I apologize. That said, it's a different, and we have to be able to have these conversations. This is not like one size fits all, or I hate that Mamdani went there, or I love that he went there, or whatever. This is like, okay, what is the situation that these politicians, and they're politicians, again, they're not your friends. These are not your family members. These are not your fanboys and fangirl, fan out over. These are servants, public servants. So they have to serve their constituents, right? So that means that for Michelle Wu, she's been doing the job. Let me see what she has done. What has Michelle Wu done in the position of leadership? Her administration has, in 3 years, significant investments in affordable housing. That's another thing that Mamdani wants to do. She has done it. Expanded early childhood education. She's made public transportation more accessible. This is another thing that Mamdani wants to do. He needs the Skrilla to do it. She's already done it. And her administration has focused on environmental initiatives like the city's Green New Deal for schools and building emissions reduction and disclosures for ordinances. It's called BIRDO. Other key achievements that Michelle Wu has done includes setting a new standard for police accountability. She's done some things in 3 years. Mamdani has just been elected. He needs that money. And he also needs to be able to, at least on the back end, like not create chaos while he's trying to build. This is all chess, unfortunately. This is not your feelings. This is not, oh, I like this person. This has nothing to do with that, which is why I brought up J.L. Cove in. He doesn't have to be rah-rah exciting. He just has to be able to get the job done. Can he get the job done? Yes, I believe J.L. Colvin can get the job done. I don't need to feel tickled by him. He doesn't need to do a Trump impersonation for me to elect somebody who has the will, the skill, and the desire to go do the job. And this is where we're going to be, moving into 2026 and the midterms. And some of you have local elections and special elections. This is how we need to assess who should represent us. This is the work. And we're in it. So I'm grateful. Texas has a Senate runoff that's happening. We should be paying attention to that race as well, as the Republicans are fighting. Good. Let them fight and let Jasmine Crockett come in there and be like, excuse me, church finger, I'm here. Let's go. We have it. We have all of the things we need. I just keep thinking about the Harlem Renaissance. This is going to be a fabulous time if we are putting everything in perspective. Okay, so Talk That Talk Tuesday. What say you? 866-801-8255 is the number. We're going to be here. We're going to talk. We have a great show today. We got Donnie O'Sullivan will be joining us, as well as, Consumer Reports will be back. We're going to be talking about Chat GPT. I cannot wait for that conversation because in addition to it being Talk Tuesday, there's also a little bit of tech. You know, we do Tech Tuesday on the Karen Hunter Show.